Hey everyone, April 1st. Today is Tuesday. Happy April Fool's Day if you are someone that participates. Dawn, I'm like you. I'm not a super fan. My daughter already like jumped out from behind the door. I'm like, dude, no, I don't like that. I don't like it. But this is by far her favorite holiday today, so
Holiday.
stay away.
You need to
Yeah,
get her a t-shirt or something then. Maybe give her a
right.
present.
I will say her daughter is also a fan of like teasing and playing practical jokes. So the two of them together, yeah, I'm definitely staying out of the way. She's only 4, but she's got some good ideas.
You
Yeah.
get her a Nicolas Cage t-shirt.
Did I what?
Get her a Nicolas Cage t-shirt.
There you go, right?
Merge them all together.
It's
Oh, that's
also
funny.
election day here, which I think is very fitting.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oof. Ours is next week. I don't know how they decide these things, but
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
We should just do it on April 1st every year. So everyone
Yeah.
should adopt that. Let's just be
Yeah,
honest.
I'm
for
not
real.
against it.
Yeah, so if you see anything on the internet, I would maybe not trust it. Like I don't know. I don't know what's real anymore with the world. So yeah. Okay. So let's hop in. We had this from last
Yeah,
week.
that was me.
I think okay.
Yep. And so I just wanted to give people a kind of a follow-up. So I just didn't have the capacity to do the ISO stuff. And I think Divya is taking on some of this work in the Asia chapter. Harmony, I know you had an interest in this as well. Did you have a chance to reach out to Divya and talk to her at all about this? You're muted.
I haven't okay, I haven't had the chance to reach out to her. It's been hectic. I've been following up with like the
Okay.
contribution, collaboration. But I would just like to my to
Okay. Yeah, no pressure. I was just wondering because Harmony had also expressed some interest in helping out here. So anyway, I just wanted to give people the update that it's not gone. Um, it's just kind of moved in terms of, I think people who have an interest. And I think Yahui also has an interest in this as well, which would again fit well with kind of the time zones where Dibia is. Harmony, I have no idea what the difference between where you are and where Divya is time zone wise. So
I think it's closer than us.
yeah, we
I think Harmony is breaking up. I'm having a hard time hearing him, but I believe that India is about 4.5 hours ahead of Harmony and I.
yeah, would work.
well, okay, 4.5 is a lot closer, yes, than what we are. So okay. And yes, Harmony, I did lose you altogether. So that's it on that. Just wanted to let people know kind of where that had moved.
Okay, thanks, Matt. That's good news, I think. That people still kind of want to work on that, even though it is a long, a long tail kind of project, but that's
Long,
good.
it's long, yeah, the process itself is long, and I think finding a home just to even kind of manage the process is adding some length to it, to your point.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. Okay, so this next one I put on here because I have some concerns. I'm not gonna lie, I have some concerns, and I'm gonna stop sharing here just so we can kind of have a frank discussion about this. So I put this on the agenda because it's something I've been struggling with here. And last week left me feeling quite frankly deflated and disappointed for some of our community members. I know this meeting is for feedback and discussion, and that's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking specifically about decision making. So last week, if you weren't here, we had 3 ideas come up, and there was what I felt to be considerable pushback on all 3 of them. We first had an idea from a community member to add some pages on the website about the working groups. Thought it would be helpful, and several people agreed with that. We had a group of folks who were super excited and ready to have something to contribute to, have a project to work on here at CHAOSS. But before the group even got a chance to put together any kind of a plan, this group right here decided that maybe it was not something we should move forward with at all. So things kind of got put on hold because we couldn't decide here. We couldn't even decide like where we should have this conversation in Slack. We couldn't even decide on a Slack channel, as if it was the most important decision that we've ever had to make here at CHAOSS. So now we have several CHAOSS community members who were excited to contribute to something and who have now been told that they cannot do that until we decide that it's okay. We talked about creating a Slack channel for co-chairs so we could communicate with them, we could check on their well-being and make sure that they still in fact wanted to continue to be co-chairs. We wanted to get updates from them to share here because we don't really have a good place to do that. There was considerable pushback on that because we didn't need another Slack channel and maybe we should have the board approve that. So ultimately, we couldn't decide if this was something that we should even do. So again, we had a few community members who had that idea. It wasn't just mine, it was several of us. But this group decided that it would go on hold. And then finally, we had talked about reviving the community managers meeting. And because we had some ideas that we wanted to work on for the community. And again, there was a lot of questions about it, which is fine, but it just felt to me a little different. What was the difference between that meeting and the project managers meeting? Why don't we have these discussions here? Do we really need another working group meeting? Do we really need another Slack channel? It just really felt different to me than just feedback and input. I ultimately made the decision to go ahead with it. We had several people who showed up. It was a great meeting. So I'm glad that we did that. But again, we had other people that were excited to bring ideas to the community, and it really felt like this group was pushing back against it. So, we talk a good game about making decisions transparently and in the open, but it felt to me, and it feels to me sometimes, that we're actually not doing that at all. These are not high stakes things, right? A few pages on a website is not a high stake thing. And the absolute worst case is that we have information on our website that doesn't stay updated, or we have maybe too many pages on our website. Okay, so we can fix that. But it just felt like, we were treating this like such a deep conversation and a deep decision to be made. It just felt misaligned, quite honestly. Again, another Slack channel, not high stakes. The worst thing that can happen is, the group loses enthusiasm and we end up archiving the channel. Okay, we do it all the time. So we have almost 3,000 people in our Slack, and yet this group right here of people who happen to have this time slot open makes decisions that are, quite frankly, feel veiled. They feel veiled to me as a community decision. But when we are hindering contributions, we're hindering enthusiasm, we are squelching contributions, like that is actually antithetical to what we're trying to do here at CHAOSS. And again, I'm not talking about giving feedback on an idea or input on an idea. I'm talking about when we say, oh, it's better for the community, and then we decide that, maybe we shouldn't do this or that. It feels very gatekeepy to me, quite frankly. So I wanted to bring this here. I want to have this conversation open. Clearly, it affects me a lot. because I want this to be a place where people do feel empowered and enabled to make decisions and to work on projects that they find meaningful without without being having to feel like we're gatekeeping them. So what I would like to propose is that we allow working group co-chairs, working group leaders, working groups to have a space to bring those ideas to fruition in their own spaces. And if that's something that you want to be a part of, great, go do that. But you know, they can put together a plan or proposal, whatever it is, bring it to this meeting for feedback and input and discussion. That's great. But ultimately, I feel like they should have the decision on whether or not they want to implement it, because they're the ones who are going to be doing the work on it. And I feel like us not enabling that and actually hindering that progress is hurtful to the community. So especially, you know, with these, if it's, you know, obviously if it's something foundational that we need to decide, of course, you know, that can be, we can sort that out here. But for these, you know, these low risk, low stakes decisions, like, why wouldn't we let those folks do the work and think about the work and put together a proposal and not squelch them before it even has a chance to be built out? So I just think, you know, our current model for decision making is broken here, and I would really like to fix that so that our community is empowered and enabled and feels like they can make contributions without, you know, without a few of us deciding that that's not the best for the community. So I will stop there. I know that was a lot. I appreciate you listening, and I would, you know, I highly invite feedback. So Sean, you have your hand raised, so go for it.
I mean, I think that I wasn't here last week, so I don't know about specifically what happened. The pattern that I recognize from what you're describing is one of growth, where we have gotten to a point where centralized control is not the right approach, where if everything comes through this narrow tunnel, our community is too big for that to be processed. And perhaps, and I speculate perhaps some of the resistance that may have occurred here last week is related to people having their own brains and task lists full. And so I like your suggestions. I think they make a lot of sense. And I think it's critical to the community that people who do try to make contributions have those welcomed, especially the first time they make an attempt, because we know that people don't stick with the community if their first efforts are rejected. So thank you for raising that. And I think the proposed idea that you had, I favor what you suggested.
Yeah, thanks for raising this, Elizabeth. I know that wasn't easy for you. So thank you for doing that. And I hear what you're saying. And I agree. You know, pushing that decision making out more broadly is the way to go, particularly. And I think Sean's point is right. You know, kind of a growth. We have a lot of people who have a lot of interest in participating, and finding ways to accommodate that, for sure. The thing that we might want to think about, so I don't mean to say this is like a decision, but the thing that we might want to think about is, like, you know how sometimes you kind of track things that are on Slack and you're like, this doesn't really fit with CHAOSS. You know what I mean? Like just that kind of stuff. There may be things that, and I'm not sure how to handle that. That's all. Like we're like, this is really not related to the work that we're trying to do, like at large. And I don't know what that would look like. So that's my only thing that came up in my head.
And I thank you for bringing that up, because I agree. You know, there are, I'm not advocating for a free-for-all. But what I am advocating is for, you know, trust in the co-chairs of working groups to implement projects that are actually helpful to the project and represent the values of the project and move the project forward in whatever capacity they see that. And I think that, you know, the co-chairs, trusting them is really a way to kind of safeguard us from a lot of that. Of course, you know, we have had that. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. We have had that issue though in the past, and you're totally right. You know, where things kind of go off, maybe someone is also acting in their own personal interest as well to push something forward that maybe doesn't quite align, and that's valid, I think. And I think that if that happens, I think we can bring that up here, and ask that the working group to come and just like explain to us, or explain to whoever, or we go to their working group and get involved in those conversations, or whoever. So I think we can safeguard from that a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think maybe part of what happened in the last meeting is that, yeah, I was also uncomfortable with the last meeting. I was talking to somebody about that earlier today, actually. And I think part of what happened is we sort of spiraled from feedback about how to do it into somehow not doing it. Because there was lots of feedback, like not having duplicate information and things like that. But yeah, it did feel like it sort of that discussion spiraled out of control in a way that was uncomfortable. And I'm not really sure how to fix it. I mean, because we need to be able to provide feedback in this meeting, but I think we need to be careful about the decision making in a meeting where, this is just a few people, right? We're not the whole community. And I think we need to remember that. And not everyone can participate in this meeting because it's at a, in Europe, like, I'm an hour behind the rest of Europe, but it's, approaching dinner time for a lot of people. And, a lot of people have kid drop off duty on the West Coast. And so this is an awkward time for a lot of people. And so we are not the whole community. And I think it's important to remember that, to be able to provide feedback on things without necessarily, I think, getting into decision territory, maybe.
I appreciate that very much. And I think this group can be, provide advice or guidance if, someone needs another group of folks to run ideas past, or, I see that is more of our capacity here than the ones to decide. And I also just wanted to say, this is hard for us. I know, to Sean's point, we're growing. It's those growing pains a little bit of, trusting and letting things grow organically, when maybe in the past, like, there has been a central kind of core group driving that. So I get it. I get it. I totally get it, why it's happening. And I'm glad that we're open to addressing it. I also want to say that I feel that we should be, or could be, aware of the fact that some of our feedback will not be agreed with by the group that's implementing. So just because we give feedback does not mean that they're gonna always accept what we say all the time. And we have to be okay with that, because ultimately, I think the co-chairs should decide. They're the ones working on the project. They're the ones who should know, or have the subject matter experts in that group, to be able to answer those questions and push back on some feedback even. So, or have, good reasons why they're making decisions. So I just wanted to also bring that point up, is like, just because we give feedback, we should also be okay with the group declining to agree with it and declining to implement it. So I really appreciate you all very much. I love you all very much. I love this community very much. And so I appreciate you listening to my concerns and addressing them with me, and we'll figure it out together. Like, that's really what I want, is for us to come to a solution together on it, if we can. And, maybe this is something that the board needs to weigh in on. I don't know. I really don't know. I just feel like it is a broken process that could be better.
I appreciate everything that you do for the community, Elizabeth, and I appreciate you bringing this up, because it must have been really hard. I mean,
Well,
I hate topics like this. I
I
think
do
it's really
too.
important.
I'm not great at kind of difficult conversations, really, without like, sometimes I let emotions get in the way, and I was trying not to do that here, because it's for the good of the community. But it does hit me hard when I see folks who, I'm out here telling everyone, yes, come join CHAOSS, you know, you'll love it, it's a great place to be, and also that thing you want to do, we're not going to let you do, so psych, sorry. You know, that hurts me personally, that we have folks,
Yeah.
and I'm sure we have had folks that have tried to do things and we didn't let them or didn't support them and have left the community. I'm sure of it. So I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to be our community. I want us to, you know, be a place where you can have an idea and you can talk about it with other people and, you know, try it out together. Because I think that that's important. And I know we are a safe place for a lot of folks. So I want to continue to be that. So I don't know what the next steps are. I don't know what we do from here, how we fix this, you know, what we do from here, but.
I think though the point that you made a few minutes ago about feedback, I think is really important for us to keep in mind. I mean, that's the reality of how feedback works, right? You give people feedback on stuff, and my feedback will conflict with Sean's, will conflict with Matt's, will conflict with Kevin's or whoever. You're never going to get 100% consistent feedback. And so the people who are doing the project have to decide which feedback makes the most sense and which feedback they can't take because of whatever reason. And those of us providing the feedback need to remember that that's the way feedback works. And so I think that's a really good point.
So maybe there aren't any next steps here. Maybe it's just a bit of a shift in the way that we kind of run these meetings, or, you know, how our discussions go. And maybe that is the action here, but yeah. Who else has thoughts on this? I don't want to cut anybody off, so happy to hear other thoughts on this.
Thank you for bringing this up, Elizabeth. So I agree with what you said. Initially, we should go out of our way to not discourage people from contributing. So, and I agree with what a couple other people have mentioned as well. That question last week, it did be, or not question, that discussion did become a little uncomfortable. So, I certainly don't think that all decisions need to be made here or in a centralized way. I would certainly, I'm not, as an individual contributor or as a member of this project, I don't feel it's my place to tell anyone that they shouldn't be doing something or gatekeeping what they should be doing. I would just, as an open source project, when we're doing this, I would just ask everyone to reflect on transparency. And it's okay for decisions not to be made here, but when decisions are made in other places, they should be made in a transparent manner and shared with the community, right? And one of the key points from last week's discussion is that this place that we're in right now, this community meeting, it's one of the very few places where we do share back all of those decisions. Because most of our other work, it has become kind of siloed. So I would hope that as a project, maybe we could reflect on some ways that we can share that information as a community, maybe not just this meeting, but share how those decisions are being made and share the work that's being done to the overall community. Not just here. And maybe that means expanding the use of the general channel a little bit more to provide updates on what's happening. Or maybe that would mean going back to an email, the email that we've kind of abandoned, right? So, in last week's conversation, I think that was one of the points that I was trying to make. It's just, we need to, it's okay to have work being done in these different groups, but if we can reflect on ways to take that work and those decisions that are being made and to share them with the community at large, I think that would be helpful. And that's not a criticism of anything that we're doing now. I think it's just kind of an ongoing thing that we as an open source project should kind of continuously reflect on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, you know, to the point I think Sean made again about the growing pains, I think that that is part of that, is improving our communication channels so that those kind of like what's going on in the project is a little more well-known across the channels. So that's, you know, a really, yeah, I think that's a challenge for sure. So maybe that's something that this group could think about. The community managers could also think about, since we do have folks in there who are experienced with, you know, larger communities and how those communication channels work, and the communications working group as well. So I think, you know, maybe we can do a little, maybe we should do an ad hoc task force or something to kind of bring that
Seems like
idea
a
up.
good conversation in the community managers meeting. Topic.
Yeah. Yeah. Of like, how can we be better at communicating across the project? Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and it
Just
might be
making
good to bring back, for a while, we were doing working group updates in this meeting, and I don't think we've really done those in a while. Maybe it's time to bring those back too, in addition to, you know, whatever the group comes up with.
I 100% agree with that. Okay, cool. I like those ideas a lot. Thank you, everybody. I love you.
I had one last comment, maybe something for the community managers meeting, but like I was thinking while everybody was talking, like, are there, you know, size of decisions that need to be reported? So like adding the working group info seems like a relatively small addition. You know what I mean? Like it's just versus like making decisions about ISO standards. Seems like a fairly large. And actually, I kind of fall on the answer is no, we don't really care about, like, the working groups are empowered to make these decisions. And because if we have like this sliding scale of like small, medium, and large decisions, that could get kind of weird and almost impossible to track. So it was just something that went through my mind as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, because then you're trying to decide on the decisions to be made, and that's like something else to decide. So,
Yeah.
To your point, Matt, I think, and to yours too, Kevin, you know, if there are more kind of transparent or updates from working groups of like, hey, here's the thing that we're working on. If you care about this thing, come to our meetings. Here's the meetings, here's the minutes, here's our Slack. You know, and so it doesn't, so I feel like that would help increase transparency about, to your point, Kevin, of like, where are the decisions being made? You know, if we are a little bit more familiar with like what are the big projects or small projects that each working group is working on, if we had a place for that. And then whoever cares about any of those things can, you know, participate in that conversation or in that project. Yeah, I like that. I like that, Matt. I tend to agree.
And the way, you know, the way a lot of the decision making happens in some of the bigger projects, like I'm thinking CNCF projects, you know, when something like this comes up and people start having discussions about it and we're trying to make a decision, a lot of times in some of these other projects, we create issues. And then the discussion happens in the issues. So if you think about the way that we handled the decision about renaming Bus Factor, for example, you know, that was all in an issue, and we had people leave their comments there, and we kind of documented the decision. And so that's a good way to handle things like this. I mean, not necessarily this one, because I feel like we've kind of we've beat this one to death. I feel like we're done. But I mean, it's a good way to handle decision making, because it gives everyone a place to have their say. And then at the end, it gives you a place to say, this is what we decided. So I think maybe we need to get better about using issues for some of the decisions. I don't know what other people think about that.
Yeah, I see a +1 in the chat, and yeah, I think that would be great. And I, you know, I not to bring this full circle, but back to the content piece that was started it all. Part of that was that some of these working groups don't have repos, so maybe that's a thing. Every working group should have a repo and have a place to have those issues opened and discussed out there. So, great point, Dawn.
We can do these in the community repo too. I mean, there's nothing to say that we need a repo so that we can have the discussions about issues. We can have those put just right on the community repo.
Yep. That's a fact too. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I love you again. I appreciate you very much. I appreciate your input. And I think we can probably move on, unless somebody has any kind of final comments to make, input to share, perspectives. Okay, so these were the last, that being said, these were the topics from last week. Maybe we don't discuss those here right now, since we just had that conversation about leaving these to those individual working groups. But yeah, you can, if you weren't here last week, you can kind of read about what we were talking about. I feel like this co-chair group would be really helpful in that cross communication piece and to get updates from them. And as well, this Harmony can speak to, actually, Harmony, are you still on here or did you get booted? Oh, there you are. Harmony, and I'm not gonna put you on the spot, so you can say no, but I know that the tech writers did have a chance to meet and talk about this topic. So if you have a plan or a proposal that you wanted to share, here's your time, but if not, that's completely fine, completely fine. I'm not putting you on the spot at all. I don't want to do that. And I think you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Oh, there you are. I don't think we can hear you. I can't hear Harmony. Can anybody else?
Hello, am I audible enough?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so we met and we talked, we actually understood why the pages on the website needs to be minimized a bit. And then we said we could stick on the page that exists and then have a brief about each of the working groups and point of contacts, which is like the co-chairs. And the ones that have like a GitHub repo that exists, we would instill the link to the name so people can redirect by just clicking and go to the GitHub repo. However, the information that has to do with the mission, the vision, and all the other text that could have made the pages longer, we would go to this repository and then provide those details are the README document, because mainly you get to like the GitHub, that's the first thing you see, the README document. And for the working groups that don't have a GitHub account provided, we think that the just one paragraph of text that we're leaving at the website with the point of contact should be enough. And if people want more details or objective, the working group should be able to provide resources in the channel, because I think each channel has like a resources section, and a document or a paragraph above meeting notes should be able to occupy objective and mission of whatever people are working on. Basically, that was our conclusion and our thoughts. And we're able to move this conversation, like take on the task and the procedure. A lot of folks are ready to jump on it. They're willing to also collect information from each of the working group, as much as maybe attending one meeting or providing a document where questions can be answered and resources can be filled. Like, what are the mission? What are you guys working on? What are the objectives? What is your vision? Like, how do you expect people to contribute? How can people participate and provide the right links? And we could also extend this information to the Slack boards and Slack basically. So you don't need to like reach out to people. You could just ask the AI agent there and you get information that links directly to these sources. Yes, that's all. Thank you.
I really like the idea of also adding that information to Slackbot. Yeah, love it, love it, love it, love it. And I know that like right now, if you had to do a list of all the co-chairs, like we don't have that anywhere. We don't have that listed anywhere. So it would be nice to have that all in one place. So thank you, Harmony.
I
Appreciate
thought
you
the
all.
same thing. This ties in well with our prior discussion. If we're gonna ask working group co-chairs to be points for making decisions, like understanding who those folks are is kind of an important step. So I think these two things work really nicely together. So thanks, Harmony, and everybody who's interested.
Anybody have any other bits of feedback or input for Harmony? For Harmony?
No input.
Yeah, I hope I don't want to squelch that either, so
Just
don't hesitate.
I picked up on your comment, so that's all.
Okay. Because I know that's like really helpful for people, but yeah. All right, I think we don't have anything else on the agenda
So I have
for
a
today.
question.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so my question is, should we move forward with the process, or should we provide the documents that will be able to like collect this information, just like a link, and you just have to just visit the link as a chair or a co-chair, and then fill in the questions that we have put in there basically. And we have these pointers, so I could add them in the meeting note if that's necessary. And I don't know if the community is saying yes, we could begin, or the community is saying, hold on, we need to like review and stuff like that.
My take is based on the conversation we've had today, you do what you need to do, Harmony. So, it's just about trying to be transparent in the things you're doing. But I think that's it. That's how I read this.
That would be my recommendation as well, is Harmony, you all decide what you think is the best. And if you really don't know and you really want help deciding, then maybe this group can help with that. But I feel like you all know, kind of all the steps that would be involved and what resources you have, who wants to work on the project, how many people you have. So, I feel like that would probably, yeah, you do what you got to do, however you see fit.
Yeah, and I think maybe update the issue so that we have kind of
Okay.
documented what you decided as a group. That would be helpful.
Damien, yeah,
Okay,
Damien, to your
that's
question.
perfect.
Oh, sorry.
And I would post the link to the document on the general channel so that people that are filling in information for each of the working group will be able to like review generally. If there's need for comment to be done on the document as well before we proceed.
I lost you a little
Sounds
bit,
good.
Harmony, but it sounded like you wanted to send something. You were going to send something to the general channel to try to get the information. Is that right? To get like working group info? Yeah, seems reasonable.
Yes.
Yep.
And Damien, to your point, Don just dropped that link in here about oh, well, it's going to open like 4 times because I kept clicking on it. Here is the document that we have for this. So it does tell about that and what the chairs do and how to become one.
And generally, it's all kind of decided on community consensus. So it's it only goes to the governing board if there's some sort of disagreement that we can't figure out as a community.
Yeah. Sorry, follow up, like, and that community consensus we getting, how does it work now that we are almost 3,000 people? Is like, do we plan to also change that? Because it seems related to what we were discussing at the start.
No, I mean, I think the way it typically works is if there's something, well, let's break it into 2 different pieces. So if there's a new working group that we think we need to create, the way that generally works is we discuss it within the community, and if there's no objection or no concerns, then we just create it. That's what we did recently with both the UN SDG metrics working group and the funding impact measurement working group. So I mean, so that's generally, I mean, I think the alternative is to make the governing board vote on everything, which I think would not be a good solution either. So I think community consensus is really the way that we kind of have to do that. And that's the way it works for working groups. And then, you know, with new working group chairs, it's generally a discussion within the working group itself. And consensus within that working group.
I don't think we've gotten a whole lot of pushback ever with the creation of a new working group. Generally, it's if someone wants to do the work. I think we've generally been pretty welcoming to creating new working groups for that if there's interest.
Yeah, just asking because it seems like the scale problem is going to also go in that way eventually. Like, it's going to be like people doesn't maybe even get aware that new working groups are created to participate in the decision or anything. Like, just thinking if we are going to reach the same problem that we have with this situation we were discussing earlier today in the other process too. Like, but not really concerned, just asking.
Yeah, I don't know. If we run across that problem, then I guess we deal with it.
And to our earlier discussion, we haven't really been using our liaisons. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like this is a piece that has kind of fallen aside. So maybe we bring that back as the person who does provide that update, in case that like the co-chairs may not be able to come to this meeting and provide the update, but maybe the liaison could.
It was the intention to have somebody who was willing to kind of participate in that working group as well as perhaps this meeting.
And I do think if that practice is in place, perhaps the need for a co-chair group is alleviated, right? If we have the liaisons or the reports coming into the community group here, the coordination amongst the general community, it kind of resolves itself at that point, and we wouldn't necessarily need another group to handle that coordination. But just an opinion, I don't know for sure. So
Yeah, I actually see them as being different. Sorry, I keep bringing up CNCF, but that's the other group that I'm heavily involved in. But we do have a Slack channel for the tag chairs, for example, and it's you know, it's something that's used to communicate big decisions because you can communicate it to all of the working group leads at the same time. It's a place where if I'm a working group lead and I'm having an issue, I can post it there and get feedback from other leads. And so I think it's useful to have a chairs or leads channel of some sort.
Okay, well, we're almost out of time. Gonna go back over here. I don't think there was anything else.
I think there was just a reminder.
Yes, the large one.
That's a
About-
lot.
No, I think that's last week. Did you scroll
was it
down
last
too?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that was for my
yeah.
benefit.
Yeah, because I just added the reminder that I cared about, which was the CFP deadline is April 14th. So basically, you have until the end of next week to get your talks in.
Okay. Well, again, thank you everyone for your honest input, your feedback. Again, love you. Hope you have a really great rest of your week. Don't get pranked, and yeah, we'll see you here same time next week.
See everybody.
Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
Elizabeth.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.